感恩50年了，累积了50年的因与缘。无什么都没有，可是小5毛钱。一粒粒的米，粒米成箩；一滴一滴的水呀，滴水成河。从出发心啊，不忘，一直呢，身心愿力。
In January, farmers in Myanmar donated rice seeds to other farmers in need. In 2015, they received Tzu Chi's rice seeds in the wake of flooding. After harvest, they paid the love forward.
Many
locals save a handful of rice from every meal and pool their rice together to help the needy. In 2016, Tzu Chi volunteers went back to Myanmar to give out rice seeds to the farmers again. Moved by the continued love and support of Tzu Chi volunteers, many locals were inspired to serve as Tzu Chi volunteers. In Indonesia, for years, Tzu Chi volunteers have been promoting the practice of saving a little in a coin bank every day. From time to time, they invite everyone to pool their savings together to help those in need.
Terus berkarya, berbuat baik buat orang lain.
Students and business employees are also encouraged to take up the practice.
Karena kita juga sampaikan informasi kenapa kita lakukan kegiatan ini secara rutin, tentunya ini untuk kebaikan kita semua.
Celengan sampai mereka harus kejar-kejaran. Oh saya belum dapat, oh saya kecewa gitu.
Saya agak gimana sih, agak terharu aja sih gitu kan. Secara nggak langsung berarti saya kan sama teman-temannya kan ikut menyumbang.
In Malaysia, to inspire more people to give, Tzu Chi volunteers have recruited 1 million donating members across the country. Now they're working to recruit another 1 million donating members. One volunteer, Wu Xiaomei, inspired 90% of the vendors in a local market to become Tzu Chi's donating members. After she passed away from cancer, her husband picked up where she left off.
现在他不在了，间接跟自己上就变成是我的使命。
师父啊，他不是讲要100万好菩萨咯，所以我一听了这个好像是一个使命，一定要去做咯。
In February, one day before Chinese New Year's Eve, a magnitude 6.6 earthquake struck southern Taiwan at around 4 a.m. local time, leveling many buildings to the ground.
等一下我们马上出来救你哦。好，我拍完影片可以一丝评估看看。
The quake claimed 116 lives and injured 551 people. In the following days, rescue workers raced against time to save those trapped under the rubble. As soon as the quake struck, Tzu Chi volunteers around Taiwan rushed to the disaster area to help. They comforted those affected, gave out blankets and scarves to the displaced, and cooked meals for rescuers and quake survivors. Tzu Chi's medical volunteers were also there to treat the injured.
非常好喝，不会
The volunteers briefed Tzu Chi's headquarters about their relief effort every day. A prayer service was also held for the quake survivors.
抱着妹妹，然后他伸出他们的双手，让我们踩。他说没关系，你踩过去。
我们真的看得我们也很心酸呐、大家都变成自己的家人一样啊。我们也，大家所有的人都用尽所有的力量要来抢救，但是遗憾还是留着很多。
因为你会不舍，因为你会觉得说，一场天灾，然后就造成了这些小朋友来不及长大。
小伤而已 ，OK， 没问题，可以再继续工作。
After emergency relief effort ended, Tzu Chi volunteers went door to door to visit people in the quake-affected areas to bring them comfort, and also to see what more they could do to help them rebuild their lives and homes. 5 years into the Syrian civil war, over 4 million people have fled Syria. Many of them crossed Turkey and the Aegean Sea to reach Greece, and then continued on the long journey to their ultimate destination in Germany. In Jordan, Tzu Chi volunteers have spared no effort in caring for Syrian refugees. In mid-February, they again prepared material supplies and set out at dawn to help the Syrian refugees stranded at the borders of Syria, Jordan, and Iraq. After driving over 300 kilometers, the volunteers were finally able to give out water, food, and blankets to the refugees. In fact, the volunteers have been helping the Syrian refugees once every month since 2013. They even hired Syrian doctors to provide medical services to the refugees. An Iraqi doctor, who is a refugee herself, was also invited to see the refugee children and help ease the trauma of war on them. In March, Tzu Chi volunteers in Turkey set up a free clinic in Istanbul. They hired Syrian doctors to treat their fellow countrymen, so there was no language barrier between them. Apart from giving the refugees material and medical aid, the volunteers also helped Syrian children go to school. In 2015, with the help of Syrian refugees and the Turkish government, Tzu Chi set up a school for the Syrian children. In 2016, 2 more schools were founded.
حال مختلف، حال الحرب، حال الدم، حال التشرد، حال البؤس والفقر والبرد، حال البيت بكل أحواله سيء. شعر أنه هو الإنسان العظيم، الإنسان المكرم، الإنسان الذي نعطيه كل اهتمام. فهذا انظر الآن حياته صارت غير الأول.
In Germany, Tzu Chi paid for Syrian refugees to learn German, including this 13-year-old boy.
ما بقي قدامنا غير إنه نطلع تهريب مشان نكمل حياتنا.
With the help of Tzu Chi volunteers, this boy is able to go to school again.
I would like to thank all the Tzu Chi organization because they give me the hope before they give me the laptop.
In Germany, the boy and his family are able to see hope and start life anew. In Serbia, Tzu Chi volunteers from 15 countries gathered together to bring aid to the Syrian refugees stranded there. Serbia's local commission for refugees also signed an MOU with Tzu Chi for distributing 10,000 sets of winter clothing to the refugees. To thank Tzu Chi for its aid in 2014, a government official from Bosnia led a team of volunteers to help with Tzu Chi's work in Serbia.
Dobro, ja kažem, to je sve posljedica učenja to kojeg smo mi slušali na Tajvanu, znači bez obzira na koje udaljenosti da ljudima ako su situaciji treba pružiti pomoć i da je to evo kao jedan vid dobrotvornog rada koji oplemenjuje nas sve na takav jedan način.
To To better care for the refugees, Tzu Chi provided them with 2,000 servings of hot meals every day.
Here we realize how open and how friendly and all of you are who are belonging to Tzu Chi.
And so much love that we are showing to these people.
Taiwan, thank you very much. Good, very much.
To Taiwan, yeah.
Very good.
On April 14th, a magnitude 6.2 earthquake shook Kumamoto, Japan. Tzu Chi volunteers immediately went to provide care and hot meals to those affected. 2 days later, Ecuador was struck by a magnitude 7.8 earthquake. More than 600 people were killed and over 30,000 people were displaced. Tzu Chi volunteers from 5 countries quickly went to Ecuador and decided to launch a Cash for Work program to encourage the locals to clean up their own communities.
Don't you want to see your city back to normal because of you?
Inspired, many locals felt upbeat and excited and worked hand in hand to clean up the quake-affected areas. Altogether, Tzu Chi volunteers carried out the Cash for Work program in 5 cities, restoring hope in the locals by helping them rebuild their homes. To thank Tzu Chi, a mayor declared Tzu Chi volunteers honorary citizens of his city.
Estoy viviendo en un albergue. Y gracias a ellos, gracias a ustedes, tengo un negocito en la esquina.
Gracias, Tzu Chi.
In April, to observe Tzu Chi's 50th anniversary, many volunteers from around the world gathered in Taiwan to take part in bowing pilgrimages. The origin of Tzu Chi's bowing pilgrimage can be traced back to over 30 years ago, when Tzu Chi was building its first hospital. Back then, the volunteers sincerely practiced bowing pilgrimages to pray for the hospital construction to go smoothly. Today, it is widely practiced by Tzu Chi members in many countries around the world. On Tzu Chi's 50th anniversary, Tzu Chi members came together to present a musical adaptation of the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings, which is the primary sutra that Tzu Chi's spirit and values are based on.
You have my warm regards as you mark a half-century of service and look toward the possibilities of tomorrow. President Barack Obama.
看慈济的贡献，我在想，这50年，台湾如果没有慈济会怎么样？世界没有慈济又会怎么样？In May, to honor Buddha Day, Mother's Day, and Tzu Chi Day,
Tzu Chi volunteers held Buddha Day ceremonies in 35 countries and regions around the world.
Bukan untuk kita satu orang kita doa, untuk semua orang kita mesti mau doa.
In May, a wildfire broke out in Alberta, Canada. In response, Tzu Chi volunteers not only provided aid to those affected, but also took to the streets to fundraise for them. To thank Tzu Chi for its long-term service in Canada, a mayor designated a day as Tzu Chi Day. In Cambodia, after a severe drought led to crop failure, Tzu Chi volunteers distributed rice to over 15,000 families in more than 1,000 villages. After receiving Tzu Chi's rice, an elderly woman even shared it with others in need. For those who couldn't come to receive rice, the volunteers delivered it to them.
当看到他们脸上那个笑容那一刻，真的好值得，真的会觉得好值得，好值得。
In Vietnam, drought and saltwater intrusion had led to poor rice harvest across a vast area. After a local organization turned to Tzu Chi for help, the volunteers gave out material supplies to those affected. In South Africa, Tzu Chi volunteers held a series of distributions to give out the rice provided by Taiwan's government to those in need. In Lesotho, Tzu Chi volunteers not only shared the rice from Taiwan with 2 elementary schools, but also with nearly 5,000 households in 85 villages. To let more people know about Tzu Chi, the volunteers from South Africa traveled over 2,000 kilometers to Namibia to hold gatherings for the locals. In Botswana, Tzu Chi volunteers from Lesotho guided the local volunteers to hold Buddha Day ceremonies there. During a volunteer training session, they officially handed Tzu Chi uniforms to the local volunteers. In 2016, Tzu Chi volunteers went back to Sierra Leone to give out clothing and shoes to the needy, including children who lost their parents to Ebola.
Once more, I say thank you.
In Zimbabwe, Tzu Chi volunteers helped an elderly man abandoned by his family repair his roof, as well as his broken heart. In Swaziland, Tzu Chi volunteers from South Africa once again worked alongside the local volunteers to bring care and material aid to those in need. In Mozambique, local Tzu Chi volunteers worked together to unload the rice from Taiwan to be distributed to the needy. Back in May, they also held a bowing pilgrimage to honor Buddha Day. In June, a tornado accompanied by torrential rain, hail, and lightning devastated Jiangsu, China, destroying buildings and wreaking havoc there. The next day, Tzu Chi volunteers arrived at the worst-hit area and immediately went to hospitals and shelters to comfort those affected. In July, heavy rain led to widespread flooding in Hubei province. Tzu Chi volunteers once again mobilized to carry out relief. They gave those affected a shoulder to cry on and provided portable beds to the displaced. On July 19th, a bus carrying a group of Chinese tourists caught fire in Taiwan, killing all 26 people on board. Learning of the news, Tzu Chi volunteers quickly went to chant for the deceased and offered help to the victims' families. Tzu Chi's work in China started in 1991 when eastern China was hit by severe flooding. At the time, Dharma Master Zheng Yan called on Tzu Chi volunteers to help. In response, the volunteers took to the streets to fundraise for the flood survivors in China. Over the past 25 years, Tzu Chi has done much work in China, leaving footprints of love in many parts of the country. On July 8th, Super Typhoon Nepartak struck Taiwan, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. In Taidong, where the typhoon made landfall, roofs were ripped off, signboards blown away, and utility poles knocked down. The next day, Tzu Chi members immediately went to Taidong to provide material supplies and comfort to those affected. To help with the cleanup, soldiers were mobilized, heavy machinery was dispatched, and many loving people across Taiwan also went to lend a helping hand. Tzu Chi also organized a Cash for Work program in the worst-hit areas.
大家都合作得很好，谢谢哈，谢谢慈济你们的爱心，
很感动哦，太感动了。
Volunteers, teachers, and students all came together to help clean up schools affected by the typhoon. After emergency relief, Tzu Chi volunteers visited family after family to see what more they could do for them. Tzu Chi volunteers also helped repair many damaged houses. A gathering was also held to pray for the peace and safety of everyone. After Typhoon Nepartak left Taiwan, it landed in Fujian, China, and caused severe flooding there. Tzu Chi volunteers quickly went to visit those affected and survey the disaster areas. They also helped prepare hot meals for those staying at shelters. Many locals were touched by the volunteers' love. In August, a magnitude 6.2 earthquake struck central Italy, destroying several historic towns and leaving thousands of people homeless. Tzu Chi volunteers in Germany immediately traveled over 800 kilometers to meet up with the volunteers in Italy. Together, they went to tent areas to bring care and comfort to those affected. In Germany, a musical performance was given to fundraise for Italy. The 7th lunar month, which usually falls in August, is an auspicious month in Buddhism. Tzu Chi volunteers seized the time to promote wholesome values through presenting musical adaptations of Buddhist stories. During this month, various activities were also held to promote vegetarianism and environmental protection. In fact, Tzu Chi has been promoting recycling for 26 years. In Taiwan alone, there are over 86,000 recycling volunteers and around 9,000 recycling stations. Even children are encouraged to take up recycling.
我要爱地球，我要爱动物，吃素身体好，救地球。努力做环保。
In August, Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital celebrated its 30th anniversary. It is the first hospital in Taiwan built with donations collected bit by bit from ordinary people with extraordinary love. It is also the only medical center in eastern Taiwan. In 1972, Tzu Chi set up a free clinic in Hualien to provide medical services to the poor twice a week. In 1996, Tzu Chi International Medical Association was founded. Since then, Tzu Chi's medical volunteers across the world have been serving those in need every day. In October, Tzu Chi staff gathered in Hualien for a spiritual retreat. To celebrate the 45th anniversary of Tzu Chi's medical mission, the staff gave a musical adaptation of the Medicine Buddha Sutra. During the event, the second superintendent of Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital, Dr. Zeng Wenbin, was honored for his outstanding contribution to the research of Blackfoot disease, a peripheral vascular disorder found in Taiwan in the 1950s.
让我们用热情与祝福的掌声，谢谢曾院长。
In October, Tzu Chi volunteers in the Philippines gave out rice to the needy.
Thank you, Tzu Chi.
To serve those in need of medical care, Tzu Chi held a free clinic in Tacloban, serving more than 5,000 people.
Not perfect, but we try our best. Yeah.
To recognize Tzu Chi's work in the Philippines, a Catholic university presented an award to Tzu Chi.
Love and care for others. So we want to thank Tzu Chi.
Tzu Chi is to give it out. Okay? Tzu Chi.
El amor es algo invisible. El amor es un sentimiento alegre.
这份爱心把它凝聚起来，这一个时候就是最需要的时刻。
Wonderful people you've sent to this country, which is my country, to help so many people in need. Thank you.
The Tzu Chi Foundation can help them to recover the hope.
Gracias a todos por seguir confiando en nosotros. Un aplauso para este grupo de hermanos de otros países que nos visitan a colaborar y a contribuir con la ciudad. Muchas gracias. ¡Vamos a trabajar!
A la primera instancia, a los presupuestos de ustedes no estaban considerados jamás, pero gracias a Dios pude saberles llegar al corazón de ustedes y considerar jamás.
Siempre vamos a triunfar, damos el amor a los demás en la vida.
When you give somebody a hand, you are his brother.
We are just listening and talking, and no, there's no point. You have to walk the talk.
各地有灾难，他们都跟正言法师一样，行菩萨道来济度的众生。
To follow Tzu Chi and Nurul Iman, that means working together, loving each other for the sake of humanity.
Better still, we're encouraged to participate in and support the activities of Tzu Chi. It would be a very good thing for the world in general and for Buddhism in particular.
It is because of the way Tzu Chi is led, organized, and operated, which creates a very high degree of alignment between the mission the capacity it is operating, and the support that it needs.
我们知道上人一句很有名的话，叫做“悲己无言，做就对了”。但是我们不光要做，我们还要向别人去陈述。
又回到了佛陀的本怀，就是关注现实的人生，关注众生的救度。我觉得这个是佛教的真的精神。
Pope Francis has announced that this year is the year of mercy, helping people, loving them, showing sympathy, which is what you and your foundation are doing. I'm very happy to know that you are called sort of the Mother Teresa of Taiwan.
The earthquakes in Taiwan and the need for people there.
Por Taiwan.
Wala siya sige, wala pag
Siempre vamos a triunfar, damos el amor a los demás en la vida, contigo a mi lado, supero la dificultad. Contigo a mi lado, supero.
Pray for whiskey and have a safe sometime.
Shukran. Shukran.
Contigo a mi lado, supero la dificultad. Contigo a mi